Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Let me just make sure I have everything. Okay.
Are we ready?
We're ready. Kira Coviello, welcome to She What?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is so exciting. We have never had an accordion player or a ventriloquist on our show. Can you believe it?
I love that these are the two things people introduce me as now.
Oh
These are
no.
very new things for me, and this is a constant. Like one of my best friends the other day was like, she makes puppets and she plays the accordion. I'm like, oh yeah, I do.
I mean,
That's
it's pretty
me now.
amazing. It's pretty
Thanks.
amazing.
We could introduce you in like 10,000 ways right now. I feel like there are so many options.
I've got a lot of personalities.
So
So many options.
in my head, I'm just gonna share this with you. One day, you just put on some red lipstick and like a cute 1950s dress and styled your hair and started acting like Betsy when you woke up your kids and fed your dog. Like you went full Donna Reed without telling anyone. Like you were just like, I'm gonna mess with them and see what happens just to see how they react. Is that what happened?
I like that version so much better. So can I say yes? That's
Yes.
exactly what happened.
No, you can totally use that going forward. I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, no, I just woke up and decided it should be the 1950s in my house one day, and yeah, no, that's not actually what happened. I did always have a little collection of vintage dresses that I liked, but I'm not really a dress girl. Like I'm wearing sweatpants right now. This is my go-to norm. So I just liked them because I thought they were beautiful. I didn't know when I would ever wear them, but I found myself not working suddenly for the first time in my adult life. I've always worked and I've always like poured way too much of myself into work. Like I went back to teaching ballet at 5 days postpartum with a baby strapped to my chest. Like that's my personality, whatever my job is at that time, right?
We feel
So
you.
yeah. And so I didn't have a job and I started joking around with some of my friends in the chat group. I'm like, oh, I'm a 1950s housewife now, and started doing some shtick to them. And then I put on one of my dresses and did a little video for them about Barney coming home from work and oh, won't he be just so whatever. And one of my friends said, oh, that's actually pretty funny. You should put that on TikTok. I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe. And then I did. And it kind of started as one thing and then evolved into something completely different, into whatever accordion puppet weirdness it is now. But yeah, that's
And
the
now,
actual birth of Betsy.
and now we have Honest to Betsy.
We sure do.
Well, so how did you come up with the name Honest to Betsy?
So this is actually a good story too. I love making mistakes. I love making mistakes on stage. I think that's like the best part of being a performer is kind of fixing things. It's a mistake. So I'm also very impulsive, extremely ADHD, like fully and Maureen, I know you said in an episode you're probably undiagnosed ADHD. Now I got diagnosed. I'm like on medication and everything, but I'm still very impulsive. So I had this idea. I'm like, oh, and I'm going to call her Honest to Betsy because that's a phrase from the 1950s and that's funny and that'll work. And then I checked and I made sure that the email was available, that the names on everything was available. I set up an LLC that day. Like I just went full tilt,
All in.
Honest to Betsy. And then after I posted a few videos and everything, I was like, I wonder what the origins of this phrase Honest to Betsy are. And I looked it up and there is no origin of the phrase honest to Betsy because it's heavens to Betsy and honest to goodness. And in my brain did that Mandela effect. And now it affects other people too. They're like, oh, my grandmother used to say honest to Betsy all the time. I'm like, no, she didn't.
Right.
Well, Maureen, tell
Yeah,
her
so-
what we did yesterday.
So when we were getting ready to talk about, your questions, and we always research our guests, and we have this back and forth, and I do our due diligence. I kept saying heavens to Betsy, and she kept saying it's honest to Betsy, and I'm like it's heavens to Betsy, and then I'm like, why do I keep saying that? Like, why do I keep getting it wrong? Like, I know it's
You're
honest to
not
Betsy.
wrong. I'm wrong. I'm very wrong.
Okay, I feel better now. I feel better
But
that I
it
kept getting it
works.
wrong.
It
Just so
works
you know,
because-
I have like 50 post-it notes that say honest to Betsy, so I don't get it wrong when I'm talking to you.
But look, I also have to have post-it notes, and
Yay!
Jess and I have known each other for years.
Yes,
and
Kira
I
and
still
Jess. I have
them
I have
written
Jess's
here.
name here.
I panic. When I do podcasts.
Yeah.
For some reason, I panic. Doesn't matter how well I know the person.
Same.
Like, what's their name again?
I feel you. I feel you right now.
God, I
love
have
your
zero
Post-it
post-it notes.
Yeah,
Mine's on like a
Jess.
tag from
Yeah,
the
here's mine,
headphones.
Jess.
Maureen, are you serious?
Yes.
What? Oh my
I
God,
know.
this podcast
I know.
is canceled. I don't
I
know.
know. Listeners can't see what's happening right now, but listeners, I just held up a post-it note that says Jess's name on it because
She sure
Jess
did.
doesn't believe me when I say like I have ADHD. Like it is like this is I can
Oh.
lose track of what's happening and I'm thinking about a million things and Kira is holding her chest because she's laughing so
I feel
hard. that
so
this is
seen.
Kira is full
I feel
honest to Betsy
seen.
right now.
I
Yeah,
She
she
is
feels
clutching
seen.
her
The pearls
pearls.
are clutched.
Yes.
Where's my flask?
We are in this together. I just want you to know. Like this is happening.
I
For
love
all of you
I
out
think-
there who are neurodivergent, the host
Yeah.
of this podcast has the other host's name on a post-it in front of her.
And I
What's
felt bad
happening?
because I've known Jess for years, but you're doing a show with
I've
her.
known her
so
for
No,
10
she's
years.
like my,
She's my-
one of my best friends.
I
Like, this
know.
is really, we're birthday twins. Like, I'm tripping out right now, just so you know, but that's fine.
But this is how I know what works for me and I know what I need.
Do you have
and
Michael's name somewhere? Like, where does this stop and start? Like,
Yes. Listen.
she's like,
It doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means that that's how I work. Like I'm thinking of
Oh.
a million things. So in order for me to like work and this to work, like those are the tools I need. So honest to Betsy came from heavens to Betsy. Let's not don't go down our path, Jess. Keep us on track here. We're having a podcast about
We need
Okay.
you.
honest to
Okay.
Betsy.
okay.
Okay,
This is gonna
honest
be
to
a
Betsy,
ride.
our
I'm excited.
ventriloquist accordion player has like a gajillion followers now that are paying attention to you doing all these crazy talents.
Isn't
Like,
that
this is
wild?
definitely one of the weirdest things I've ever watched, by the way. Like, I have
Yeah.
to tell you, I'm like,
Me
wait,
too.
what? When Jess and I talk about our guests and she brought you to my attention, she sent me a couple of your clips and I looked at them and she's like, did you watch them? I'm like, yeah, I can't, what? I can't even talk to you about it right now because I don't understand what's happening.
She said she
So-
what?
Yeah.
I-
Like, what? I don't, wait, can I, wait, what? She what? Like, there was 10 things I had questions about, so I couldn't even respond to her. And then I was like, how do you know this person and what is happening right now? So I had a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm like legit crying, laughing
Right.
this whole time. By the way, wow.
So there's a lot of questions. Honest to Betsy.
Lay 'em on me.
Like we want to know, like, who is this audience that's coming back for her? Like, is it, do you think it's like people that are relating to this 1950s housewave? Or like, we really feel like there's a bigger message here. Like, we're see you kind of getting at this emerging feminist, like sticking it to the man kind of.
There you go. You figured
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
out.
give us
Yeah.
the goods,
Like,
girl.
give us the
goods.
goods.
I'm hitting them from both angles, which is really good because it's kind of a sneak attack. Then, like, I rope them in with this cute 1950s shtick, and then I'm like, bam, women's rights.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's my audience is a wide range of ages. I have a lot of nostalgia that I tap into for people of a certain age, like the boomer crowd knows a lot of these songs that I'm playing, and these are all real songs from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I kind of stop around 1968. I don't want to go past that because then that's just too easy. I want to surprise people. So I think part of it is they're shocked. So I get the young people because they're surprised that their grandparents and their great grandparents were listening to these songs with these lyrics and these messages. And then I get the older crowd that is like, yeah, I remember that. Or, oh, you look like my mother in that dress. I hear that a lot. I hear that
Sorry.
a lot.
Maureen, that's what we're missing. People.
Right. Telling us we look like their mother.
I remind them of their mom or their grandma.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
yeah, my age confuses people a lot. It's a wide range of people that filter in and filter through. And I'm as shocked as you are that people are watching this. And it's just
But
a
wait,
ride.
let me just underscore what Maureen just asked because I think it's important. I think that this character is truly resonating with people. So you're kind of like tossing it off a little bit, but what are you trying to do with this character? Again, can you tell us? And why do you think she resonates?
I think it resonates because at this point we're going back to the 1950s, aren't we, ladies?
Yes,
So let me
yes.
show you what life was like back then. Shall we? Through song and through dance. Allow me to show you just what it was like for women in the good old days in the 1950s. And then Yeah, it wasn't so good, and they had to resort to all sorts of issues to dealing with their men and their rights. And some of the songs are sung by women who really paint a dark picture of the time, and then some of them are sung by men, and it's shocking to hear a song like the polka, "She's too fat for me. I don't want her, you can't have her. She's too fat for me." Like, this is a hit song that people sang and danced to at weddings. And
It's so look,
yes,
if we don't wanna be woke, this is where we're headed, right?
this is
I
it.
mean,
This is
if
what
she's
we're
too
in
fat
for.
for me, that's just
And
the reality.
oh, isn't it delightful? Well, now with Ozempic and everything, that song is going to be obsolete. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there we are.
So, end to end, what does the Honest to Betsy universe look like? Like, you're sometimes making multiple videos a day. Like, where are you headed with it?
Where am I headed? Who knows? Well, I want to say I'm content with what I'm doing now because it really fits well into my life, into my family structure, into my ADHD mentality. It's hitting all of the dopamine that I needed to hit. But I'm a performer at heart. I am a stage performer at heart, and that's where I started. And right now I'm writing a live show with my friend Bronwyn, who teaches me accordion, and my our other friend Lolly. So two local gals, and we're gonna put on a little vaudeville comedic cabaret soon, and that's the next step. So I'm keeping my goals attainable. I'm not trying to be a movie star at 41. Here I am, your ingenue. No, I'm here. My family's here. I have this nice big audience online, and we're gonna go to little places and have like a nice little live show happening too, because it's been asked for. I'd like to say that too. So it's not just me being like, oh, I think I could do this. No, but like the people want to see some live music and some live fun. And I think we need fun right now. I think we need silliness. I think we need irreverence with a touch of pointed feminism, and let's talk about our rights here while we laugh.
I I wanna, since you're alluded to it, I wanna just orient people who might not know you, who aren't part of your audience, because the arts really do play such a huge role in your life, and your resume is kind of insane because you're like, "I do violin and point with violin." So, how did your journey start, and just how many instruments do you play, and how the heck did you learn accordion? I have all these questions.
So many questions.
I know.
It started, my mom was a ballet dancer, and she had a dance school, and she was my ballet teacher. So I was in ballet and dance forever. And my parents brought me to see a lot of live theater and Broadway shows. And I was like, yep, that I want to do that. And they were really supportive of that notion. God bless them, because a lot of people aren't, a lot of parents aren't. And so then I went to school for musical theater and minored in dance. And I played violin since I was 4 years old. And in college, I started playing violin while dancing on point, and I did that in numerous shows. And there's this chick, Lindsay, what's her name? Lindsay Sterling, or is that her name? Yeah, she like plays violin and she dances, and she's pretty famous for it. I'm like, I did that. I could have done that. I didn't think there was an audience for this. My God, had I known. And then so yeah, I wound up playing violin in a lot of shows, and then moved into professional musical theater world. I was a regional performer, and moved from New York. I went to school in New York on Staten Island, Wagner College, and then moved to Philadelphia. And I was commuting into New York a fair bit for auditions, but then I discovered the Philadelphia theater scene is amazing, and it's so artsy, and it's less commercial than what I was trying. The goal is always get on Broadway, because that's the goal from the time you're 4 years old. And if you don't reach that, then you're a failure. But when I got to Philly, I was like, I love it here. I love the city much more than New York. It's less overwhelming for me. The theater scene's incredible. I love the people here. So I immersed myself in the theater world, in the regional theater world. And that was my life for a long time. And then life hit me at 25 with cancer. And boom, that just really knocked me on my ass. And sorry, can I say ass?
Sure.
This isn't live, girl. It's all good.
So that threw me for a loop. And um, I I just, it was treatable cancer. I had thyroid cancer. And I had just gotten married. I married young. And I decided I didn't really want to audition anymore. The spark was kind of gone of performing, and I wanted something less stressful. So I healed, went through treatment, and started teaching dance full time. And I loved it. And I taught dance for years. And then we moved to Doylestown. And I fought it tooth and nail. I was like, I'm never leaving this city. I'm a city girl. I love Philadelphia. No way, Jose, am I leaving Philly? And my husband's family business is right in Doylestown. He's like, just come see Doylestown. Just because we were looking at like suburbs around Philly and like that, I hated it. And so once I saw Doylestown, I'm like, what in the fairy tale is this
Heaven to
magical
Betsy.
place? Heavens to Betsy, where am I?
Honest to Betsy, you guys.
Sorry.
Honest to Betsy?
Now I'm confused. Who am I?
Right.
I'm Betsy. Loved Doylestown. Loved it. So started teaching dance out here and then taught acting for a while. And along the way, picked up a few more instruments. I started playing cello in high school too. The accordion just is. Have I gotten off track with my story?
It's all right. I'm following.
Okay. It's a long and winding road. Yeah, I then again, I told you how Betsy was born, and
I
while
love that.
was
She's like, it's not taken. I can't believe there's no one else with this URL.
how is that
She made it up.
possible?
Because I made it up.
Story of
She's
my
like,
life.
there's no one else with this Instagram handle. I can't even believe it.
Like and I just,
It's like she
I'm a
invented the internet.
measure once, cut twice kind of person. So like I didn't do any research beforehand. I did it after. I realized
It's the
that.
best. I love it.
It's the way to
I
go.
love it too. So it's available. It's trademarked now. It's mine.
It is yours.
You
Yeah,
invented it.
the accordion's new. I just started playing accordion last year because I was like, that seems like something a 1950s housewife would do. Learn the accordion.
Like, I don't
right?
even know where you would buy an accordion and then you found an accordion teacher. Like, these are things that are beyond my thought pattern. Like,
I found the accordion teacher years ago. She's my friend, and she owns the Birdhouse in Lambertville.
I
which is
saw
the
that. Yeah, I
wonderful
kept seeing
music
Birdhouse
venue.
behind your videos.
Yeah,
I'm
so
familiar with
that's
that because
it's
they
a music
do,
school and a music venue, and it's lots of folks music, and it's wonderful.
and they do music therapy there. It's a really cool space.
She's
do.
actually featured in this issue of Real Woman that has not reached your mailboxes yet.
Oh no way!
In a beautiful coincidence.
Oh.
So I did not know that you had cancer. And how long was that journey for you?
I mean, kind of, it's going to be forever because thyroid cancer is very treatable, but it's like one of those, you're monitored for your whole life. I don't have a thyroid. I'm
Right.
on medication for life with that. But the treatment itself was I had surgery. I had radioactive iodine treatment, which is like a one-time chemotherapy type of thing, pill form. And then you're radioactive for like 2 weeks. You can't touch anybody. You can't be around anyone because you were literally radioactive, which was a wild thing to go through. But yeah, luckily it's treatable and I'm okay. And it feels like so long ago that happened. It's like truly a lifetime ago at this
Yeah.
point. But yeah.
I wanted to ask you about COVID because
yeah.
that was another time in your life that your family went through a really tough journey. Would you tell us about
Yeah.
that?
Yes. Yeah, we're going there. It was that, I feel like Betsy is brought on by a series of unfortunate events and tragedies that have led up to this moment of happiness and joy. So I have to go back a bit. My mom, who I said before, she was my dance teacher. We had a very complicated relationship. She wound up getting dementia fairly young. I had just had a baby. I was in my 30s. My mom had dementia, and it went downhill pretty steeply. COVID hit, and then my brother and I had to go online to court to get guardianship of my mother,
Wow.
which was a whole process. Soon after that, my brother, who is a ICU pulmonologist, so on the front lines of COVID right at the start, he got COVID, and he got it bad. So he was almost immediately put on a ventilator. And this is right at the beginning. This is before vaccines. This is before we had any immuno treatments, any
Right.
of that stuff. So he was put on the ventilator and he just kept going downhill. And they they had, I don't think they put him on ECMO here. I think they flew him
Mm.
to the University of Florida. So he was getting all the stops pulled out for him. He would have been dead quicker had he not been this ICU pulmonologist who was respected in the whole community. All these doctors were really pulling for one of their own here. He's on the front lines. So they flew him to the University of Florida and they put him on ECMO, which is they take the blood out of your body through this machine, they oxygenate it, and they pump it back in. Because at a certain point, the ventilator stops working. So they had to take him off of the ventilator. We're a few months in now, and he's not doing well. And at one point, I got a phone call from the nurse, and I'm just getting constant updates. My aunt and my sister-in-law is giving my aunt and I, who is like a mother to me and my brother, we were very close, all these updates about him, and it's just bad. We all became practically physicians at this point with the medical jargon we were understanding, and he's going downhill. And at one point they called me like he's maybe got 12 hours to live.
Mm.
It's if you want to say goodbye, he probably not going to hear you, but so on the phone I had to say goodbye to my brother. And then my mother with dementia called him and said goodbye as much as she understood what's going on. And his twin sister, it was awful. It was just, he has 3 young daughters. And I told all my friends, I was just like sobbing on the floor. I'm like, this is it. And then the next day I woke up, I'm like, okay, he must be dead. And if I got any sleep, and he wasn't. He pulled through that night, and he kept staying alive for months on ECMO, and they kept doing all sorts of things to keep him alive. And they put him on this transplant list for a double lung transplant, which wasn't really being done yet at this time for COVID patients. So he became one of the first COVID patients to get a double lung transplant. And
Wow.
what a process that was for him to recover from that. And he died a few times, actually. At one point they had to turn off the ECMO and back. He coded like every time they had to do something, and he kept coming back. And it was, yeah, trauma like I've never experienced before. So during that time, he recovered. He got his transplant, and thank God he's doing fairly well. He'll never be 100%, but he's back to working. He's seeing patients again, which is
Wow.
incredible. But during that time, I had to become the guardian of my mother, who has dementia. While I have, young babies, it's a wild thing to parent your children and parent your parent at the same time. She didn't live with me. She had 24/7 care the whole time. So that was my COVID experience. And then I'm just lucky he's with us and he pulled through. But yeah,
What
COVID
a
was
miracle.
hard for everyone. So many people lost people, and my family definitely went through hell during that
Wow.
time.
Wow is right. There's nothing else to say but wow, but thank God he pulled through, and amazing that he's a pulmonologist. I
And he
mean,
got
I
2
can't.
lungs.
Yeah, and he got
Yeah.
2 lungs.
And how is he
Incredible.
now?
Something poetic about that. He's doing well. He's really doing well. Yeah, he's like I said, he's working. He's basically in like a hazmat suit when he goes in, and people like still will look at him while he's wearing a mask and say things to him like, COVID's not real, right? That was all a hoax. And he's like, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for me.
Yeah.
So, but you kind of said that these series of unfortunate events sort of led you to Betsy a little bit. Can you say
Yeah.
more about that?
Yeah. So, so Sean went through everything he went through. Then right after he recovered, my aunt, who I said we were really close with, got lymphoma, and she passed away really quickly. So I got my brother back, and then I lost my aunt, who was she was like a mom to me. And at the same time, I had lost my mom to dementia, even though she was still alive. And that was awful. Like at a certain point, you're just praying for them to go. And that was years of seeing her lose her dignity, and lose who she was. She was not herself anymore. And it's just, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Seeing what Sean went through is awful. And I don't want anyone to ever have to die of dementia. It's awful. It's just the worst way to go, I think. So that was a long, long, long goodbye for her. She
Mhm.
just passed away in October this year, the day before my birthday. And at first I was like, well, that kind of sucks. And my husband, Mr. Betsy, said, can you look at it as a gift? Like, you wanted this for a long time. You wanted her to be at peace. You wanted her to pass. And like, yeah, you're right. It's a gift. So those are my things. And then I was working at a place and we lost one of our students, our young students, at 11 years old. And that was just the most heartbreaking thing I've ever been through in my life,
Yeah.
you know? So I would say, those are my series of unfortunate events, my tragedies. And I went through hell, and everyone goes through it. Everyone is always in it. Everyone's always got their baggage, something that they're dealing with, and it's just about how much weight do you put on that? Like, how much energy are you going to give to that experience that you're going through, and how are you going to pull yourself out on the other side? Where do you find your joy and your energy from? Do you find your energy from this negative experience? Do you define yourself by that? Do I define myself by cancer? No, I forget I had it half the time.
Mhm.
I'm very in the moment, and right now I'm so thrilled when people tell me that they had a bad day and they watched one of my videos and it made their day turn around. And
Yeah.
that means the world to me. And to be able to have this audience and I can make people laugh, that's one of the things my mother would always say when she would go into parent teacher conferences is, she's a very good kid. She's a rule follower, but she will do anything for a laugh. So keep that in mind. So that brings me so much joy that I can make people happy, because we're all in it. No one's tragedy is greater than someone else's. No one's pain is greater than someone else's. The thing causing it might be, but the pain that you feel yourself, we all feel that the same way.
Yeah, I think it's the great equalizer, like everyone is suffering on some level, and that is the great equalizer. Like no one is different in that regard. We all share something, we're all carrying something with us. But I do think, as far as entertainment goes, it's the most difficult thing to make people laugh. I think that is the hardest part, Even when I'm
Mhm.
sitting on the couch at night with my husband and we're flipping around for shows, there's not that many funny ones because it's the hardest thing to write comedy and to perform
Yes.
comedy. So I love when I can find something that makes me laugh and makes me
Yeah.
smile and brings me joy and, rooting for the good stuff out there. Now, what does your family think about Betsy? Do they
So
You
it's
find as
alluded to
much?
Mr. Betsy.
I did
Is
allude to
that what
Yeah.
you're
Mr.
calling
Betsy.
Noah these days?
Yeah. He loves it, by
He
the
loves
way.
it.
So Mr. Betsy, yeah, his name is actually Noah. He's just a gem. He's just a really stoic man. And speaking of like being a hard laugh, he is. I'll post a video and then I'll watch him watch it for any sign of laughter or a smirk or like a little, like something, because he doesn't
A
laugh out
lip
loud.
flare,
Yeah,
an
Okay.
eyebrow.
if I get like a little, I'm like, oh, it's a funny one. Oh, this
That's
is
a
a
good
good
one.
one. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so he's very supportive of it. He gets a kick out of it. But in his own very stoic, quiet, reserved Noah way, we are opposites in every way.
Okay.
He's in finance, and like he's an accountant, and like I can't do my children's math homework with them. So I'm
Same.
definitely the creative one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so he's very supportive. His mother, Joyce, is the most supportive. She's so into this. She promotes me everywhere she goes. She likes to
I
be in my
love that.
videos with me. My children are quietly very proud of it, I think. They're like, yeah, my mom's a YouTuber.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
amazing.
But they're, it's not like I'm not doing humor that their friends would be into or anything, but I think they still think it's pretty cool, and they get in on the act in their own way. I don't post their faces or anything, but like I'll play the accordion to get them out of bed in the morning and use that of them like telling me to stop on a video or something. And yeah, they might help with a puppet behind the scenes, so they like to help out and feel like they're part of it sometimes.
Yeah.
But
It,
yeah.
it's so funny what the kids think is cool. Like I've been doing Real Woman forever, and until I went and did a thing like with the 76ers, the Kate Scott, and I took a picture of myself on the Sixers court with Kate, and I sent it to Elliot, and he was like, "Man, my mom is cool," and I'm like, "I've been doing this for
This
like
forever.
ever, like
Yeah.
like okay, but
Like, I've
that's all
been
right.
telling
That's
you
all
I'm
right.
cool for years,
You
Elliot.
believe me.
Apparently, cool moms don't tell their kids they're cool, is what my kids tell me. I'm like,
Oh,
but I
okay.
am.
My kids have just like no interest. Even when they were little, like I'd be on TV and they just, I think it was like regular for them and they just don't. I
Right.
took them on the Today Show and they'd be like,
Yeah, the
like they're
yawn,
just,
snooze again,
yeah,
mom.
they just, it's never phased them
Didn't
once.
move their needle.
It doesn't move their needle. I don't know what would move their needle. I guess I have
The
yet to
YouTube,
find
I
out.
got this like little YouTube plaque, this play button. And apparently, that was very cool when I
Oh,
got
that was
that.
very cool.
Oh,
And that
that's
did it for
cool.
Very
them.
cool.
All
Yes,
right,
they
well,
like that. But that's
mm,
it.
I'll
I
have to
mean,
work on one of those now.
Yeah.
you know what's
Honest to
not
Betsy.
cool? What's not cool for your kids is the accordion. They don't like that.
They don't think that's cool?
No.
How about the ventriloquism?
That they're kind of into. My littlest one, my 9-year-old, she's trying to do it. And she's like, "Was that good, Mom? That was amazing. I didn't see your lips move at all."
I have no idea what you just said, but it was
No
perfect.
clue.
Do they think it's super cool when you crochet a giant uterus?
They do, yeah. They
Do you want to
So
give
one
some
of
context to that,
yes,
people?
well, one of the many talents that Kira has is well, sewing, crocheting, but I just specifically remember the giant uterus. But you've also made a giant octopus.
Yeah,
What else?
a giant whale. I make, it's go big or go home with me.
Giant.
I'm
not
getting
making
that.
a
We're picking
baby
that up.
blanket. There's
I
no
like that. Be
dopamine in
big.
making
I
a
always
baby
say that.
blanket.
Be big.
Yeah,
Strangely enough, I actually had an experience with ventriloquism. Jess, you might not have known this about me,
No.
but I was in the
I'm gonna
play.
make a post-it note and put it up in a minute. Hold
I
on.
went to an all-girls high school and we did the play Annie. And if you haven't noticed, I have kind of a low voice, and so I always got the boys' roles. And I was the ventriloquist on the radio show. So there was a radio show. Yeah, and I had a puppet and I had to do the ventriloquism. And if you can imagine, on a radio show, you don't actually have to do the ventriloquism because no one can see you. So
right.
this was like the whole comedy part of it, but I actually had to do that. So randomly enough, Kira, I did that.
Did you actually do the ventriloquism part, or did you just
Well, that's
sing
like
normally
the
and
funny
that was
part
the
is that
joke?
you're on
Right,
radio,
you
like
didn't do it,
you're
right.
right. I didn't do
You never
it,
know
but
with kids and how they want to interpret a role, though. So
yes,
Okay.
it was. I
But
wasn't
since
very
this is a show about women, can we just get back to the uterus for a second? Like,
yeah.
Yes.
why did you crochet a uterus?
I crocheted it for there's the bands off our bodies. So there was that rally, and I crocheted as a fundraiser for that rally, and I think the donations went to like the Indigenous Women's Fund. I might be getting the wrong name of it, but it was like getting abortion care and care to Indigenous women's communities. And so it got raffled off at this event. I made like 3 of them. There was like the giant, like 5-foot uterus. It was huge. And then 2 smaller ones. And so they got auctioned off. I called them the Uterati. And that was actually what my Instagram account was called first, the Uterati.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
I only had like 50 followers or something on it. And then when I did Honest to Betsy, I'm like, well, I'm not really crocheting anymore. I'll use this account. And so it switched. And that's what I thought I was going to do with Honest to Betsy in the beginning when I
Was
pitched this
crochet?
idea to Noah. Yes. I'm like, I'm going to dress up as a 1950s housewife. And I'm going to say like all these like inappropriate puns because crocheters are called hookers. So knitters are knitters, but crocheters are literally called hookers.
That's
So I'm like, well,
hilarious.
that's funny. So I did a whole little bit, and that was like one of my first videos was crocheting. And I was like, maybe I'll like crochet some stuff and I'll sell it, and that'll be what I do. That's going to be what Honest to Betsy is. So it took a hard turn once I started finding all this music, which I was not privy to beforehand. I was not a fan of novelty songs from the 1950s before this.
Really?
No.
Really, you weren't.
So I feel like we might have
Oddly enough.
we might have jumped ahead a little bit for our listeners who don't know you. Can you tell them what Honest to Betsy is?
God, can I? I don't even know.
I I don't
So,
know, but like just give them like a little glimpse so people who have
yes.
maybe never seen you before, because we've now
Okay.
talked about crocheting and ventriloquism and the accordion
They're
and
gonna be
uteruses
so
and
confused.
music. So if someone
Uterati,
The
Maureen, the
uterati.
the
uterati.
The
uterati, sorry.
uterati.
Okay.
So
But now we're talking about music, and this kind of really is what it is.
this is my bread and butter. Yeah. So honest to Betsy finds herself in these precarious situations with musicians that are singing odd songs. Often she's accompanying them on piano for the first time in a venue, and then they'll start singing something with wildly inappropriate lyrics or something very strange, a song about perhaps Poisoning Pigeons in the Park by Tom Lehrer. Please take note, I am now holding a poisoned pigeon that I made a few days ago because ADHD. So, and other songs from the 1950s about, well, I talked about the Two Fat Polka before, but then we go even further back to the blues of the 1930s. And boy, oh boy, were some of these songs really, really, really raunchy. So often I'm playing piano or accordion or my violin. Sometimes I'm listening on my vintage record player that I have had forever and I love, and listening to records. And I am basically just doing some facial acrobatics with my mug that is made of rubber. I can never get Botox because then I'm out of business.
I'm
So I
out of
react to these
business.
songs in 1950s dress and set and everything, and I set the scene. And genuinely, I'm pretty shocked by the lyrics, and that's the whole story, I guess.
Well, it's not
Yeah,
the whole story, right?
it's
Because
not.
how it hooked on. So many of us in, I feel like Generation X and beyond struggle a little bit to make sense of social media, but you seem like you just inherently get it. How did you get your head around all of that? And can you wave some magic fairy dust over us so that we get some of whatever you've got?
Someone mentioned to me once that it's a little combination of shock, humor, and or knowledge or something of interest. So information, you're sharing information, you're sharing something, you're sharing it in a funny way, and there's a little bit of shock value to it too. And I am kind of hitting those three nails when I do
Mm-hmm.
this. So I'm trying to be funny. I'm not trying, I mean, it's the songs are funny in their own way, so it makes it really easy for me. And I'm usually adding something, some context. Like this is a real song from 1953. Like this isn't that AI stuff that everyone's making, which are funny in their own right. To it's what that's its own thing. I'm not into it. It's not what I do. These are real. This is what your grandparents were listening to, and here's a little history on it, maybe something like that. And it's so I think I'm trying to hit those three nails, or it's just kind of naturally happening in that way. But that's kind of the magic formula, from what I can tell, for social media. And keeping their interest is everyone now has ADHD like us, Maureen. So
Yes.
We're all going to be walking around with post-its
Yeah.
everywhere in a minute.
We're making it happen though. I mean, there's a way for all of us creatives out there to make it happen. We might not be doing the straight line or, you know, punching the clock like everybody else, but we're making
yeah,
our way out there. It's hard
yeah,
and it's
not a clock
weird. And
puncher.
like, we talk about all of the ways that I'm sure everyone saw the New York Times article about how, our generations are making less money in the creative fields now than we did 20 years ago. All three of us on the screen who are pumping
Mm-hmm.
out great content and
Mm-hmm.
getting paid less now than we ever have before because of the change. And like we just talked about social media, how wonderful and amazing it can be, but also how strange it has become
Right.
in these
Yeah, I mean,
creative
as an
spaces.
artist, it's kind of the best place for me that I have been in. Like I said, I've worked in professional theater. I was a union actor, and I've been teaching forever. But this is like, I'm not really getting a lot of ads and things, but just getting paid from the apps. This is the most money I've ever made, and I'm only working like part time doing this. So, as an artist, for me, I feel really seen and validated, and
Mm.
that's kind of the beauty of what social media is. Like it's kind of like an equalizer on the talent field. Like you have to, if you want to be an actor in the movies, you have to break in some way or know somebody or blah blah blah. But on social media, people are like, I like this, I'm sharing this, and now you get to be internet famous, whatever that means,
Yeah.
and go viral.
Can you explain that a little bit to someone that might, like Jess was saying, like, people that don't maybe understand what that business model looks like when you're saying you're getting paid from the apps, like you're not taking on ads, you clearly aren't like hawking a lot of product in
Mm-hmm.
your space and what you're doing, but you're making a living from it. So what does that
Yeah.
look like as far as a business model?
So yeah, so I'm not hawking things. I'm not like a makeup influencer, and I'm not. I don't think of myself as an influencer because I don't think anyone's getting influenced to do or buy anything from what I'm doing, other than
Those
listen to a
those
song.
records aren't flying off the
Raiding their
shelf.
grandmother's closets,
I
maybe,
mean,
Yeah.
but
maybe. So yeah, I mean, I have done some things like some vintage clothes things and things that are appropriate for me to do. And let me be clear, I would love to get a big ad deal and get paid lots of money to do that. I am not turning that down, but that's not my main goal. So YouTube pays creators the most consistently and the most, I would say, fairly, because they have like this model set up and you get paid from advertisements on your videos. So once you hit a certain amount of followers and views and hours, you are eligible for their monetization program. And TikTok also has a monetization program, and it was great for me in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of stopped.
Stopped.
So that was not consistent. I make a little bit of money from TikTok still. Instagram, kind of a similar situation. Sometimes they pay their creators, sometimes they don't, and they don't usually pay them all that well. And sometimes, like I was getting paid to post on Threads, and that was really great for a while, and then that stopped. But Facebook is consistently pays creators with large followings that pull in a lot of views and things like that. So I'm able to monetize kind of consistently on Facebook and YouTube. And it's just been like a really great confidence booster for me as a woman who has always had this imposter syndrome out the wazoo, even though I try to like exude confidence all the time. I'm not, I'm always like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you pay me for this?"
yes.
Oh, I
Well, we know
know.
how that feels. Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. Um, and it doesn't always go well as a woman when you have that conversation. So
Yeah.
it's it's really great for me. I feel really happy with the way this is going. And I'm not making $1 million, but for what I'm making for the hours that I'm working, it feels really good.
Yeah. 1,000%. I I think just being seen, like you said, I've had the experience of like being on a train and someone's reading Real Woman or something that I've written, and it's a little bit weird. And you're like,
Yeah.
should I be sitting here? Should I move? But it's also like, that's what you want is right to people to engage in whatever platform you're on. So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Um, we always try to ask our guests like for a piece of advice or some takeaway that they've gotten over the course of their lives that resonated with them and meant a lot to them. What's a piece of advice that you've gotten that just really has changed how you see the world or what you're
Oh,
doing?
wow. That's such a good question that I feel like I don't have an insightful answer for. But for me, for what I'm doing right now, I would say just embrace the cringe, as the kids say. Like, don't be afraid to be cringy. Don't be afraid to
I
try
love that.
something new. Don't be afraid to fail at a new instrument and to learn something and put it out there. Like I'm going to make a mistake and I'm going to come up with a great name that nobody else has. And so I'm all about embracing mistakes and being cringy. And I don't care if people I know are gonna, look at what I'm doing and roll their eyes because I'm making somebody who's having a really terrible day happy, and that's pretty rad.
That
I'm
is
gonna
pretty
tell
rad.
Elliot that I'm embracing the cringe now, and if he don't like it, that's his
Yeah,
problem.
it is.
Embrace
It
the
is.
cringe.
And my
Honest to
God,
Betsy,
he's
everyone.
18, Jess. That's crazy, by the
I
way.
know, stupid.
There's so
Happy
much
birthday to both
crazy.
of you.
Honest to Betsy, everyone, for a good laugh, go check her out. It was so much fun to have you today. I might not take up the accordion, but I am going to embrace the cringe. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
with us.
Thank you
Maureen
for
and
being
Thank
with us.
Jess.
you. Thank you, Kira. It was such a pleasure. I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank
Same.
you so much.